Hello everyone, I'm Himani Shah. I'm a CA-CFA. This video is being made because during my interaction with my family and friends and people I train, a lot of people asked us questions on where they can put their money, what are the safe options. A lot of people have already invested but don't understand the financial products where they've invested, which is why I thought I will make this video and just kind of discuss the brief risk and return and the different options available today where you can save or invest your money. So this is an humble attempt at it. Hope you like it. If you have any questions, you can easily reach out to me. The 7 options we will discuss more in detail in our future videos. Today we will just briefly discuss all the 7 options. So what are the different options where you can put your money in? So the option 1 is you can hold the money in your piggy bank or hold it in cash or hold it in your drawer. But the problem with cash is that it is the value of cash will not be the same tomorrow. So while the price of goods and services which you want to buy with these with the money will keep increasing because of inflation, the worth of your money will not. So 5 rupees today will be 5 rupees tomorrow. However, anything you buy today will probably be more expensive tomorrow. Therefore, it's a very safe option, but there is no return or maybe a bit of depreciation when it comes to holding cash. But yes, that's the safest option and everybody should hold some portion in cash. So that's your option 1. Option 2 is depositing your money in a bank account. Which earns you interest because the bank is happily holding your cash for as long as you tell them, and depending on the tenor or the duration for which you hold the cash, they will pay you interest. There are various types of deposits. For example, savings deposits, term deposits, sweep deposits, or recurring deposits. There's also a current account which pay you various different interest rates. We will discuss that more in our next video. Your third option is government bonds or government saving schemes. These are very safe because again there is no credit risk attached to it. It has the Government of India backing. The return on these investments will be between 6 to 8%. These are various instruments like Provident Fund, employee or public, national savings schemes. There's also government bonds. Now government bonds are bonds issued by the government which gives you a coupon rate depending on the tenor of the bond. Now there are 2 ways of buying these bonds. One is you buy at the issuance of the bond, which means you will earn the coupon rate and the maturity value at the end of the duration of the bond. And the second is you buy from the secondary market, but the secondary market with the buy price will probably be more than the issuance price because the seller will make some profit and then sell it. So therefore the term yield to maturity comes into play. Yield to maturity is also the price of the bond at which you buy it versus the maturity price and plus the coupon rate. So whatever you're going to earn, if it's an appreciation or if it's a depreciation in terms of the value of the bond, plus minus the coupon rate is your yield to maturity. For government bonds, you can either invest directly by buying a bond, or there are also government debt mutual funds known as GILs, which are also available for various tenors. And these are open-ended schemes also, so you can invest. These are the least in terms of return, in terms of risk, and also moderate returns. So you cannot expect very great returns, but they give you a good 6 to 8% return on moderate risk. The fourth kind of investment is your gold. Gold can be invested in terms of gold bars or jewelry, or you could invest through gold ETFs or gold mutual funds, these are some of the options. Gold again is a safer option, but I would say the return is actually volatile because you don't know how much return you would basically make on it. But I said safe because it is the currency of all the global central banks of the world, so it's pretty much safe in that sense. And you also hold the asset, so depending on the appreciation of the asset you will get your return, but there is no fixed return here. So that's your fourth option. Your fifth option is corporate bonds. Corporate bonds are bonds issued by businesses, by promoters, by business houses. They normally pay more than the coupon rate on a government bond. So corporate bonds pay between 8 to 15% versus government bonds we discussed pay between 6 to 8%, or different government schemes. But corporate bonds will be between 8 to 15%. The risk here is higher because the maturity value, you have the risk of the business not doing well, and it may become bankrupt or may have to shut down, which will basically mean you will not earn your coupon and your maturity value at the closure of the corporate bond. So in terms of risk, they are higher, but they also give you higher risk. So I would place them, depending on what bonds you buy, I would place them higher than the first four options in terms of risk, but also higher in terms of return. Now within corporate bonds also there are ratings, and AAA rated, and so the AAA rated are the highest rated bonds where the risk of default is lowest, and therefore they are the safest, and so on and so forth. You have a AA minus, AA plus, and there the risk increases, although the return would also be higher. But yes, you carry the credit risk in these corporate bonds. There are also debt mutual funds through which you can invest in these corporate bonds, because a lot of times corporate bonds or bank bonds, or the ticket size is a little higher. So it's easier when you invest through a mutual fund. So that's your fifth option. Your sixth option is equities. Now equities, again, a lot of people know about and they've seen the price fluctuations. But how do we know that the current market price is an attractive price to buy or sell? So here's a very simple example. Think of equity as investing in the company of in a business or a company started by a friend of yours. Say for example, XYZ. He runs a business of candies, and he says he has 1,20,000 shares which he is willing to sell at 280 rupees per share, which means 120 lakh shares into 280, which will give you the market capitalization of the company. Now you can decide whether you want to buy 1, 10, 100,000 shares in this company, or you don't want to invest. Now you look at, what will you do? You will first look at the profitability of your friend's company. Is he making profit, and how much profit is he making? If it's a profitable company, you'll say yes, I'm ready to invest in this company. But once you've made that choice, you want to know at what price you are ready to invest in that company, for which you will have to see the EPS of the company. EPS is nothing but the net profit divided by the number of shares, in which in this case is 1,20,000 shares, which will basically come up to, say for example, 14 rupees per share. Now, are you ready to pay 280 rupees for a business which is giving you an EPS of 14 rupees? So 14 over 280 is a return on investment of about 5%. Is it a good investment? Maybe not. Why is that? Because we discussed government bonds are paying you between 6 to 8%, corporate bonds are paying you between 8 to 15%. So this is definitely not a good investment at this point in time. But then you think, but is this business going to be more profitable in the future? Is it going to give me a higher return on investment than, say, the 8 to 15% or the 5% that it is giving currently? 8 to 15% on the corporate bonds, or the 5% that is currently paying you? If you think yes, based on your assessment of the business, of the quality of the management, of the future need of the product which it is selling, based on the leverage of the company, then you would basically take a guesstimate or a projection saying, okay, the future value of the business is this much, and therefore I'm ready to pay for this price. This is the price I'm ready to pay for the stock, and then you invest. Now the other question that comes up is, why is there so much why are the stock market so volatile, or why are there such big fluctuations? So now it's stock market is a group of people. It depends on what happens, and it's also affected by a lot of external factors, which will also affect the stock price of your investment or your equity in the company which you've invested. Now Benjamin Graham had described the stock markets, which I kind of find very interesting, as Mr. Moody. Mr. Moody basically is dependent on the mood of a group of people in the markets, and there are times when the person is very happy, or Mr. Moody is very happy, and he's ready to pay a very high price for the investment that you've made, or for the stock price of a particular company. And at sometimes they are not ready to pay anything for the investment of the stock price, and therefore the markets come down. So you have to understand that when the prices go up beyond a certain value, and it's higher than the intrinsic value of your company which you've already assessed, then that's the time to sell the shares of the company. And when it is below the intrinsic value of the company that you've decided to invest, it is time to buy the shares of the company. So that's about the fluctuations of equity markets in very simple terms. We will discuss this in more in our next few sessions. The seventh option that you have for investment is real estate. Why do I place it seventh in the whole scheme of things? Because the ticket size normally is much bigger versus the earlier, where you have a choice of also investing in smaller sizes. So real estate, also you don't know about the returns that you will make on the particular investment you made, and it's also considered to be illiquid. So therefore, in terms of risk, I place it a little higher than even equities, and return can be equally good too. Now all of these are also, a lot of the investments in equities can also be made through mutual funds, which are a basket of shares which the mutual fund portfolio manager decides to invest in, and you earn the return on the mutual fund. There are also ETF funds which are traded on the exchanges, which are basically passive in nature. And therefore the expense ratio on them is also lower. So a lot of these, like we've discussed the 7 options here. The finer aspects of each of these options we will discuss in the sessions going forward. There is also insurance in Mediclaim, particularly, that we shall discuss, which is part of your, your personal finance. But these are very simple terms. The different options you have in terms of investing your money in. There's cryptocurrency and stuff, but which is not very well understood today. So best avoided, I would say. So hope you find this interesting, and if you have any questions, you can reach out to me. Be safe, stay indoors, and do share the video if you feel it would be useful for anyone. Thank you, and take care. Bye.